All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the 10th episode of the Triple D podcast. We made it to episode number 10. We appreciate you if you're still watching 10 episodes in. In this video, we got a special guest, Owen. Owen, say what's up to everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. So, in today's video, we're going to be going over the Thursday night football game of the Chiefs versus the Lions, talking some other NFL news, and then we're going to get into our AFC predictions. We dropped our NFC predictions episode a couple days ago, about a week ago now, so now we're finishing that off with our AFC predictions. So, if one of you wants to get into the Thursday night football game first, we can just go right into that and start with that.
Yeah, so first game of the regular season, season opener, was the Lions upsetting the Chiefs in Arrowhead, which was a very cool game to watch. Lions beat them 21-20. Jared Goff is now 2-0 against Mahomes. Mahomes didn't have Travis Kelce or Chris Jones, but it was still a great game. You can't take it away from the Lions. Like Mike Tirico did. He said, you got to put an asterisk on this one because you're going to have Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, which is like BS. But yeah, so I'll start with the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, he had he did overthrow his receivers a couple of times, but most of the time it was just his receivers not catching the ball. Kadarius Toney not having any catches. He was 0 for 3. Obviously, one of them resulted in a pick six. And the Lions, Jared Goff was very accurate. He was 22 of 35, 1 touchdown, 253 yards. Just got the better of Mahomes. It wasn't a flashy game at all. It was pretty slow, mainly defensive game. But yeah, what'd you guys take from it?
Well, what I saw from the first half when it comes to Detroit, I really liked their defense, how they started. Obviously, the Chiefs put some points on the board, but one thing I want to point out is how good their rookies played in this game, especially in that first half. Jahmyr Gibbs, he came in and he made some explosive plays on the offensive end. Sam Laporta is already emerging as one of Jared Goff's favorite targets in the red zone on third down and all that. And then rookie linebacker Jack Campbell made some great plays. He actually prevented a deep pass with a deflection, so I like that for sure. And then one other thing about the Lions is Aiden Hutchinson. I really think he's going to be a superstar. Every single time I would pay attention to him when the Lions were on defense, and he was just cooking Jawan Taylor every single play. He was pressuring Mahomes every single time. And as you said, David, Mahomes had some overthrows, and I feel like that's what led to that. Jared Goff didn't have the most outstanding game of all time, but that's partially due to one critic I have, which is the third down play calling. I was really confused by a lot of that on Thursday. I really didn't like Ben Johnson's calls. He ran a bunch of screens on third down, ran the ball on third and medium, and then just some overall bad plays that you wouldn't expect the team to run on third down. So I didn't like that. I feel like that's one thing they need to change throughout the year. And then also in the first half, I saw Mahomes. He can still do it with anybody. That changed in the second half, but strictly talking about the first half, Mahomes was making things happen. He had that deep pass to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and he was at 3rd and 17 from midfield, and then he only needed 3 plays to turn it into a touchdown to Blake Bell. So he can really do it all, man. But and then on the defensive side for the Chiefs, Nick Bolton had a great game, pressuring Jared Goff almost every single time and stopping the run. So I think both of these teams showed flashes, but I don't think either one of them had a spectacular game, especially in the first half.
Starting with the Chiefs, Mahomes, he looked really good. His receivers obviously trash, dropping all those passes, but they'll figure it out. He'll still be all right. And the Lions, I think everyone expected the Lions to be good, but I think they're going to be really good this year. Jared Goff played decent. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think as they give him more and more carries, he's going to be something special. And they kept showing his mom.
Yeah, that was crazy, bro.
Good game. Yeah, it's a good game for the Lions,
Yeah, and then, I guess in the second half then, that's when the Lions really, took off. Amon-Ra St. Brown had that touchdown in the first half, and then they went on that slow, sustained drive in the fourth quarter that ended up in the game-winning touchdown for David Montgomery. So, honestly, not the best game on the offensive end if you really look at it. A bunch of people are just saying that because, they outscored the Chiefs, which is, an extremely good thing to do. But in all honesty, they didn't have the best offensive game. Amon-Ra St. Brown did have a good game and everything, but I don't know. I just feel like Jared Goff could have made some better reads, and then like I said earlier, I think the play calling could have been better, and Lions could have put even more points on the board. Josh Reynolds had some good catches from Jared Goff as well. And then David Montgomery was great on the ground. I really like what the Lions are doing with the duo running back combo. Although I do think as the season progresses, Jahmyr Gibbs will become more of a workhorse like RB1. But I really like their change of pace because Jahmyr Gibbs is that shifty guy they can put in for to run some screen passes, to run some jet sweeps, stuff like that. And then David Montgomery is your ground and pound guy, and he showed that really well, along with the offensive line playing well. And then for the Chiefs in the second half, the wide receiver core just fell apart, as you said. It was really embarrassing to see. Like, Kadarius Toney, those drops, man, I literally could not understand. He had one wide open on third down, literally nobody near him. Obviously, the one that resulted in the pick six that literally killed the game for the Chiefs. This is going to be like a huge test. If he can bounce back from this, because obviously everyone always talks about like the hype between Kadarius Toney and his ceiling and like his potential and all that, but we haven't seen it yet from injuries, and now he just had a horrible first game, and we'll see if he can bounce back. But I do not think that the Chiefs should be scared. I do not think this loss is gonna decide their whole entire season. They're gonna get Travis Kelce back, and I feel like things are going to be 100% back to normal from last Super Bowl winning season. I just feel like as much as Mahomes can do everything right, he can escape pressure in the pocket. He can find his receivers open. What can he do if they can't bring the ball in? Sky Moore had some bad drops, and his receivers just aren't getting open. So it was really tough to see for Mahomes out there. But I also want to credit the Lions defense, especially Aiden Hutchinson, for playing super good on the D-line. And also, Jawan Taylor was false starting every single play, bro. If that's a new thing in the NFL where you can jump a second earlier, and they finally called it later in the game when it finally mattered, thank God. But like the fact that he was doing that all game, like it was just pissing me off so much. Like it wasn't even close. Like no, like there's times where like there are really good tackles in the league that can time it perfectly. Although it looks like a false start, they actually do time it perfectly. But this was like blatant false start, so I really didn't like that at all. Hopefully they don't start calling it like that the rest of the year. But yeah, overall really good game. I'm super happy for the Lions for getting this week 1 win in Arrowhead.
Yeah, it's a very well-deserved win. I think the Lions, this is just a great way to open their season.
All right, we're going to start some predictions. We're going to go with the AFC predictions today. I'm going to start with the AFC North. In last place, I have the Steelers at 7-10. Kind of controversial. I said it on TikTok. Some dude told me to kill myself. I don't know. I just don't like Kenny Pickett. I don't think he's good. And then in third place, we got the Cleveland Browns. I hate saying anything good about that team, but I mean, I think that he'll be better, but I hate. In second place at 10-7, the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar, he's going to be good. They got OBJ, so we got to see how he's going to do, but they'll be a good team. And in first place, of course, the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow just got extended, got a bag, and they're the same old Bengals from the past few years.
Yeah, I really think that this division is going to be good this year. I don't think, in my predictions, I don't have any team going under 500. But in last place, I do have, although this team, I don't think they're going to be bad, I do have the Cleveland Browns coming in at 9-8. I do think Deshaun Watson comes back to at least somewhat his normal self, even like 100% his normal self, because last year, that was not Deshaun Watson. I don't care what you say. Deshaun Watson is way more skilled than what I watched in his last 5 or so games of the season last year. But I feel like Amari Cooper is going to have another great year. They still have Myles Garrett on the to lead their defense. They have Denzel Ward still back there, but I just don't see much potential for this team, to be honest. Like, they're not like a big boomer bust team. I feel like they're one of those teams that are just like in the middle. I don't really see anything changing for them. They got rid of Kareem Hunt, so now they don't have that receiving back out of the backfield that they had last year with Nick Chubb. And they also don't have like a set in stone wide receiver too. They don't really have anyone there to like catch all those passes. Obviously, Deshaun Watson likes David Njoku in the red zone. But I don't really know much to say for this team. I really don't understand how anyone could have them finishing like 10, 11 wins. Because like I do think they're going to be good just because Deshaun Watson rises his level of play. But like I don't see a way where the Cleveland Browns like even get close to touching the Bengals or even the Ravens in this division. I feel like they're going to lose a lot of those divisional games that are going to matter late into the season. And I feel like ultimately that'll be the downfall of them. And although I do have them 9-8, I don't even think they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah, so I actually have the Browns and Steelers tied at 9-8. I think that there will be competing for like one of the last spots for a playoff spot in the AFC. I think that the Steelers, I think Kenny Pickett's going to play a little bit better than most people expect him to be. I think he's a decent quarterback. He didn't really show like that many like bad moments in my opinion, like in his rookie year because he started like I want to say like week 3 because they benched
Mm-hmm.
Mitchell Trubisky pretty
Mm-hmm.
early on. But I think he had a pretty good showing for a rookie quarterback last year. And the Browns are just a very mediocre team. Like they don't really have an identity. And Watson, I do think is going to play a lot better. But I think if Deshaun Watson like unlocks like 2018 Deshaun Watson somehow, then I think they'll be a lot better than what people can expect them to be. Even with very little weapons, Mari Cooper is getting a little bit up there in age. So yeah, those are my
Mm-hmm.
two. Those are where I have the Browns and Steelers so far.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that I also am the same with you. I just looked at my team that was in fourth on my AFC North, but yeah, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers also tied with the Browns at 9-8. I do expect a Kenny Pickett leap in year 2. To be completely honest, I don't expect a big one, but I don't think Kenny Pickett is like has hit his ceiling at all yet. So I think he's gonna definitely have a rise. I think George Pickens emerges as wide receiver 1 ahead of Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson got like no looks in the red zone last year. I think he only caught like a touchdown or 2 last season. So I think George Pickens emerges there. He has Pat Fryermuth. He has 3 really good receivers around him to catch balls from. Najee Harris in the backfield. I don't know how high I am on Najee Harris, but I mean, he can get the job done. I don't think he has that ceiling where he can enter like top 10 running back discussions or anything, but I think he can be a good goal line back, a good third down back, a good ground and pound back. And then obviously on their defense end, they still got Cam Hayward. They added Patrick Peterson to be their cornerback 1. And then they have Minka Fitzpatrick back there. So a pretty similar team from last season, except they got a lot of young guys who they're relying on to improve their team. And obviously I can't bet against Mike Tomlin and his record of always going above 500. I just can't. So I have the Steelers going 9-8 as well. Another mediocre team who might be fighting for that 7 seed in the AFC. But overall, I have both them and the Browns being about even in how their seasons go, as I don't really see like a ceiling for either of these teams this season.
Yeah, and then I'll go into my second place, which I have the Ravens going 10-7. I think they'll be one of the better AFC teams, but they'll still have like a decent amount of losses just because they're trying to get like Lamar really hasn't ever had 2 really good wide receiver ones. I think Zay Flowers from week 1 is going to be a great receiver. Odell, I think he can pick off from where he came off. He's had a decent amount of time to rest that knee. And the last time he was playing really well. Like it wasn't like he was playing bad or anything. And yeah, I think what also leads to them having 7 losses is like Lamar needs to get back to his old form because he had that really serious like knee sprain. At first they thought he would be only out for a couple weeks last year, and then he ends up missing the whole season. So yeah, I think and like their defense is pretty decent. They still got Marlon Humphrey as their cornerback 1. And their D line's all right. They did lose Calais Campbell, I'm pretty sure, who was there last year for a couple of years. So I think they'll be second place.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and do you want to go on the Ravens?
The Ravens, 10-7. I think they got Lamar. They got Odell. I think Odell's going to have a comeback season. He's going to be a good player. I like Zay Flowers. Yeah, I think they're going to be a good team.
Yeah. Obviously, like there's a lot of expectations for this team to improve in terms of the Ravens. I also have them going at 10-7 as well, David. I have them finishing second in the AFC North. I do feel like Odell establishes himself as wide receiver 1 in this offense. I don't think he's gonna have a bad year. He's not going to be his 2015 self. Like, I don't think anyone can argue that, but I think he's going to be good. I really liked this signing for Baltimore. A guy that like has been good like his whole career, just coming off an injury, so there's a little risk there. But that's why they got him on a cheaper deal, on the cheaper side. So I really like that for them. They have J.K. Dobbins coming back as well. I feel like it's an underrated thing. A lot of people forget how good J.K. Dobbins was before him being super unlucky with injuries the past 2 years or so, with multiple like torn ACLs and torn ligaments in his knees and stuff like that. But I think he's fully healthy, ready to get back now. And then I don't agree with what you're saying about Lamar Jackson like having to like come back. I think he's been fully healthy since like May. I think he's gonna jump right in. I think he's gonna have an outstanding first couple weeks of the season, just like he did last season. Last season, the first like 3 weeks of the season or so, I'd say Lamar Jackson was #1 MVP candidate. But then he started to regress. Then he got hurt, and then there was no chance. I think he's gonna keep that up. Do I think they'll make the playoffs? I say yes. I think they'll make the playoffs, but me personally, I can just never trust the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson is a playoff choker, and I don't think he'll go far in the playoffs when they do make it. But I think Lamar's going to have a good year. If he can keep it up for the whole year, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in MVP talks, but I think he'll be a little bit closer to his like 2019, 2020 self than how he was last season for sure. And then on the defensive end, Marlon Humphrey is out for the first couple of games, so that's a hurt for them. Obviously, that D-line is now kind of weak. I mean, Calais Campbell is a fossil, so it's not like the worst thing in the world that they lost him. But, yeah, they don't have as much pressure on the QB. They do have Roquan Smith to anchor that defense, but overall, I don't see much for that defense. And the Ravens, I just think Lamar Jackson is going to be good enough with his rushing ability. He has Zay Flowers. I really am high on Zay Flowers. I don't know if I said that, but I'm really high on him. I think he has a high ceiling, and he could overtake Odell as wide receiver 1 by the end of the year for sure. And then obviously we're forgetting Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson's #1 target. I think by far he's still going to be the #1 target in the offense, even with Odell, even with Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews is Lamar's go-to guy. So I think Lamar still has arguably the best weapons he's ever had in his career. And then we're also forgetting Rashad Bateman, who could be that wide receiver 2 early in the season, maybe wide receiver 3 later on, coming off an injury. So I think Lamar definitely has weapons, and that's why I think this team makes a little leap from last year, and I have them going 10-7.
Yeah, and obviously we all have the Bengals #1. I have them at 11-6. I'm not 100% sure what their record was last year, but I think they'll be pretty similar. They just gave Joe Burrow he's the now highest paid player in the league. They're going to try to maximize the opportunity of having T. Higgins, Jamar, and Joe Mixon like on the same offense, because there's a chance that they lose one of those guys in the coming years. I think that they're gonna yet again. Obviously, I don't want to say like playoff predictions yet, but they'll most likely be one of those teams that goes very far again. And their defensive wise, they did lose what's his name, the Bates guy. What's his first name? Jesse Bates. So they had a couple of losses on defense, but I think their offense is good enough with all their weapons to get them to 11-6.
Bengals, they didn't really make too many changes. I think they're just going to be the same as next year, and I think this could be the year I think that they get their Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I have them going 12-5. I think similar to last season. I also don't know exactly, but I think they won 13 games or 12 last year. But every single year that Joe Burrow is in that lineup, alongside Jamar Chase, the Bengals are Super Bowl contenders, period. Joe Burrow is probably the second best quarterback in the league, in my opinion, right behind Pat Mahomes. And when he's healthy, I think the Bengals can go as far as, like, the sky's the limit for them when Joe Burrow's at quarterback. That guy is a beast. Obviously, good decision by them to extend him to become their full-time franchise quarterback. I think he'll be the next Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, whatever, Drew Brees that stays with the franchise his whole career. I hope he can get his Super Bowl in the next couple years, but I really think this team's going to be good. Obviously, no major drop-off on the offensive side. Jamar Chase is still there. T. Higgins is still there. Tyler Boyd is still there. Joe Mixon is still there. I mean, you name it all. They got everything. Their O-line is improving, which has been their weakness and their downfall the last couple seasons, and their O-line is about the same as last year at not many major downgrades in that category, but I think the Bengals are just going to be super good. Like, I don't think there's many other offenses, if any, that can hang with them, especially in the AFC. So I think they're just going to rack it up on everyone every single week, and they're just going to win every game by scoring 30 points or so. I just feel like this is going to be the same Bengals we see from last season, from 2 years ago. I don't see any changes at all. They're going to be good. They're going to lose a couple shootouts against good teams because Evan McPherson misses a field goal or some defensive breakdown, or they're just going to lose to freaking Patrick Mahomes or Josh. Like, in some shootout against a good team, that's where their losses, I feel like, are going to come. And then on the defensive side, obviously they lost Jesse Bates, but I don't think that's going to make them not a Super Bowl contender. They still have Trey Hendrickson on the edge. and they have some other good pieces around. So I am high on the Bengals. I think obviously their ceiling is the Super Bowl for sure. Do I see an off chance where injuries come to bite them? Jamar Chase missed like 5 weeks or so last season. Joe Burrow coming off that calf injury he suffered in training camp. Is there a chance that injuries could come and maybe ruin their season a little bit? Yes, I always leave that in the back of my head. That's why I have a possibility of the Ravens possibly overtaking them as number 1 if injuries strike. But all things aside, if the Bengals are healthy, I have them going 12-5, winning the AFC North and being Super Bowl contenders.
I had the Bengals at 13-4, by the way. I think I forgot to mention.
Yeah, I see. Okay, well, that's it for the AFC North. So now we can get into probably the best division, if one of the best divisions in football, the AFC East. You got the Bills, you got the Jets, the new look Jets, you got the Dolphins, and you got the New England Patriots. All these teams are capable of making the playoffs, in my opinion. But this was a really hard ranking for me. I have to take my time with this one. So in last place, I do have Owen's New England Patriots. I have them going 7-10. The only thing with this team, I don't think they have a ceiling. I mean, I keep saying this, Mac Jones is a floor quarterback in my opinion. I don't think he has a high ceiling. I don't think he can improve that much. And who knows? This is the last year of his rookie contract. Who knows if they pick up the 5th-year option? Who knows if he stays past this year? So we'll see in that regard. They signed Ezekiel Elliott to form kind of a backfield duo with Ramondre Stevenson. But the receivers are not good. They gave Juju a way bigger contract than he should have gotten. They have Devontae Parker. They signed another tight end. For some reason, the Patriots are obsessed with tight ends. They had Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith the past couple years, and now they have Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki. Who knows why? Their O-line is mediocre, honestly. I mean, I don't really see anyone on that O-line that could like protect Mac Jones that well. I think Mac Jones got sacked a lot last season. I'm not 100% sure, but... And then on the defensive end, they do have some rising stars on the defense end that I do like, which is why I think I have them a little higher than their offense takes them. They have Kyle Duggar, they have Jack Jones, Matthew Judon, one of the best edge rushers in the league. So I really like all those guys on the defensive end, and I can't not trust a Bill Belichick-led defense. I think that wins them some games. Even in the division, I have them taking maybe a game from the Dolphins, maybe a game from the Jets, hopefully a game from the Bills. So that's my take on the Patriots. I could see them winning up to 9 games. I feel like that's their ceiling. And then their floor is probably like 6 games. Like I said, I don't think there's that much of a gap because the Patriots are kind of just like an in-the-middle team, similar to like the Browns or the Steelers. But so yeah, I have the Patriots at 7-10. Sorry, Owen, last place.
Yeah, I'll have to agree. I'll go here real quick. So I got the Patriots at 8-9. You know, a very middle of the road team. I think that their defense definitely is going to be better than their offense. And yeah, the offense, you know, they got some pieces. I'm pretty sure Juju is going to be out potentially for like the first couple of weeks. I heard something about that. I might be tripping.
He just said something where like his knee can explode at any moment. He's like good, but
oh, okay. I thought it was like some other report then. No. But yeah, I don't know if like Juju could be the number 1 guy on an offense because even though last year he was on the Chiefs, he was like the Chiefs are very good at like spreading the ball around, so he definitely won't be like their go-to guy. But I like Devontae Parker. You know, he's not, you know, like Miami Dolphins Devontae Parker, but I like their pieces. Mac Jones, you know, not the most flashy quarterback. He can get the job done here and there. But yeah, I got them at last place, 8-9.
I'm the same as David. I have them at 8-9. I think their offense will improve with Bill O'Brien. You know, he worked with Mac Jones at Alabama. I don't think Mac Jones is the answer, though. And I think that's why Patriots fans are so obsessed with who their QB2 is. Because they don't trust Mac. The receivers, I mean, they don't have a star receiver. They don't have a true wide receiver 1. But the defense, that's the bright spot on this team. Bill Belichick will never put a bad defense out. You know, rookie Christian Gonzalez, I think he's going to do great things with this team.
Yeah, Christian Gonzalez, yeah.
Yeah. So I got him at 8-9.
Yeah. Speaking of Christian Gonzalez, he's my defensive rookie of the year pick. I really like Christian Gonzalez. I feel like he's one of the steals of the draft, to be honest. They got him 15, 16, 17 around the middle of the first round when I think he easily could have been the first corner off the board that the line, but instead the Lions took, or the Seahawks, I don't know. Someone took Devon Witherspoon. So that's another big part. Him and Jack Jones will be a great combo there. But Owen, I want to hear your opinion on, do you think there's any chance that Mac Jones gets benched at any point during the season? And if so, for who? Because you mentioned there's a lot of talk for that QB2 spot. Like, what do you think could happen there? if Mac Jones doesn't play good?
I think he can't be benched. I think if he's having like a really, really bad season, they'll bench him. But the QB2, I honestly don't know. Belichick, he doesn't give answers in the press conference. It's kind of hard to tell, but I don't know. Matt Corral, I've actually heard rumors that they're going to cut him. So I don't even know how.
I think they did this morning. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's gone. I would probably say Zappy.
Yeah.
I mean, he had some flashes last year, so Zappy.
Yeah, and I know you're a Malik Cunningham fan. I'm also a Malik Cunningham fan. I love Malik Cunningham. I hope he can get that QB2 spot because I'm not high on Mac Jones. If Mac Jones were to get hurt or he were to just get benched for his bad play, I would like to see Malik Cunningham in there. Even they could use him as a utility guy, like maybe on special teams as a wide receiver for trick plays, whatever. But I also want to ask, this is Mac Jones' last year of his contract, correct? Do you think if the Patriots were to be that middle of the team like we're saying right now, 7-10, 8-9, and they do finish last place in the AFC East, and they Bill Belichick and Bill O'Brien doesn't really see a ceiling for Mac Jones, do you think they move on from him, and what do you think they do if they do move on from Mac Jones?
I do think they move on for him. I think this is a make or break year for him. What they do though, I honestly have no idea. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
Bring back Cam Newton.
That's something Bill Belichick would do, bro. Bill Belichick is crazy. So, that's my take on the Patriots. So, if one of you guys want to go into your third place team, since we all agree on the Patriots being in last place in the AFC East.
In third place I got the Jets. I got them at 9-8, which might be a little bit surprising to some people. I think that when Aaron Rodgers first got traded there, I thought that this would just be like the 2022 Broncos all over again, but it's not. I think that Saleh is not going to allow that for sure. They have like a lot more of a disciplined team, even though they still got Hackett as their offensive coordinator. Which as an offensive coordinator, he's not the worst, but he just wasn't a good head coach, obviously. And I think Aaron Rodgers, even though he is 39 years old, which is still surprising to me, I think that he'll play good, even though last year it was like a down year for him. They got a lot of weapons, Alan Lazard, Garrett Wilson, they got Breece Hall coming back, Dalvin Cook, they signed like a couple of weeks ago. So this offense has a chance to be very explosive. Top 5, I think, in my opinion. But I think it just comes down to how Aaron Rodgers can play at his age.
So I was wondering, why do you have them at 9-8? Because what you just described has them as like a powerhouse in the AFC. So why do you have them at third place at 9-8? I'm curious.
It's just because it's Rodgers' first year there.
So you don't think he'll play good?
Well, I think that he can play good, but it's just like they'll end up losing close games.
So you think they're not going to be a clutch team? They're going to lose all those close games?
Well, I mean, they'll win every now and then, like a close game, but I think that they'll just have a couple of close games lost.
Okay, and then also you mentioned you don't think the Jets are going to be like the 2022 Broncos, like the big letdown. But in my opinion, if the Jets go 9-8, they are the 2022 Broncos. This team needs to win 10, 11 games for them to be successful. This team is double the talent.
The 2022 Broncos couldn't score a touchdown. The Jets are going to score a couple touchdowns. They're going to win a couple of games.
That's what I'm saying, because the Jets' talent is twice as good as the Broncos, and their team is so much better. Aaron Rodgers is better than Russell Wilson, better running backs on the Jets, better receivers on the Jets, like defense probably better on. I mean, this team is way better. I feel like 9-8 makes them a disappointing team, just like the 2022 Broncos. Just because they're going to score touchdowns doesn't make them not the 2022 Broncos. That just means they're going to be a huge letdown team. I feel like 9-8 is a letdown, especially in third place. Do you have them making the playoffs?
Yes.
So you have them making the playoffs, and then what did you say was your prediction? You said the Steelers and the Browns are going to go 9-8?
Yeah, but
so
it's always those like last games though, like the week.
So you think it'll come down to like that last game, and they'll find a way to beat out the Steelers and Browns? Okay. Well, I had the Jets in second place. My third place team is the Miami Dolphins. I have them at 10-7. I think all three of these are interchangeable, especially the Jets and the Dolphins in that 2-3 position. I think the Dolphins have a ceiling of 13 wins, if I'm being completely honest, if everything clicks for them. And then I think their floor is like 8-9 wins, 7 wins even if injuries pile up. stuff doesn't go right, I like Mike McDaniel as a coach. I feel like he wouldn't be as good in other situations with other quarterbacks and stuff, but I think him and Tua have a really good relationship and really good chemistry that allows them to be really good. Obviously, it's scary for Tua after all his concussion issues last year. I mean, he's had a full offseason. Obviously, it's not issue right now, but you never know. I saw in the preseason he's been like protecting himself more. I saw some clips of him like when he gets sacked or when he gets like hit after the throw, like he protects himself more. So I like that for him for sure. But obviously this team has one of the most explosive offenses in the league. They have Raheem Mostert, a speed god, back in the backfield. They drafted Devon Achane as well to possibly take over that starting running back position. And then obviously, they got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, two of the fastest, two of the best receivers in the league. Jalen Waddle only 23 years old, and he is just racking up the stats so much more. Lining up on the other side of Tyreek Hill, it's just awesome for that. And then Tyreek Hill, I feel like he could win Offensive Player of the Year easily this season, especially if Tua stays healthy, because I feel like that's the main reason he didn't last year, because there was a lot of games where Skylar Thompson was starting or Teddy Bridgewater was starting. So I feel like if Tua can stay healthy, but in my opinion, that is a big if. Normally, you don't see an issue where like a guy has repeated concussion, because concussion is like something random technically. Like it's unlucky if you get a concussion 4 times in a row, but it's not unlucky if you like tear your ACL like twice in a row because your like knee is less mobile or something. You know what I'm saying there? Like, so
Yeah.
I feel like Tua, it's kind of unlucky, but in this case, like just because of the fact that he doesn't protect himself, I feel like it's possible, and then obviously any other injury is possible. And on the defensive side, I really, really like the trade for Jalen Ramsey. It really does suck that he tore his meniscus and he's going to miss the first like 10 weeks or so of the season. That's a huge, huge loss for them. They still have Xavier Howard to man it down, and then I think they signed Eli Apple to be their cornerback too, beside that, and he's not very good, obviously. So they have Christian Wilkins, who's in a bit of a contract dispute right now, but he said he will play. And then they got some other pieces on that defense. So I think, like, for example, they played the Chargers week 1. I think they'll prove that. I think that game will be in the 30s, possibly even the 40s, maybe the game of the week for week 1. So between two very good offenses. So I have the Dolphins going 10-7, but they are one of my sleeper teams to win up to 13 games and possibly win this division if everything clicks for them, because I really like the Dolphins this season.
Yeah, in third place, I have the Jets at 9-8. I think they're going to start out super slow. I think Aaron Rodgers still needs to get adjusted, and he was in Green Bay for his whole career. Now he's in a new system. It'll take a while for him to adjust. I think probably the first half of the season it's going to look like they're the last year Broncos, but I think they'll get it together near the end of the season. But yeah, I'm going 9-8, and I don't have them making the playoffs.
Interesting. Okay. So then I'll get into the Jets, I guess. I have them in second place at 11-6. I don't see where you guys are coming from with Aaron Rodgers needing time to adjust, picking up from form. He was good last season. People get that twisted. Just because the Packers weren't good doesn't mean Aaron Rodgers was good. He had nobody to throw to, and like Christian Watson was hurt half a year along with him being a rookie. Same with Romeo Doubs. Like Robert Tonyan was out the whole. He didn't have anyone to throw to. He was like Mahomes on Thursday night, literally. I think Aaron Rodgers definitely will pick up. He is familiar with the system. His offensive coordinator is Nathaniel Hackett. As much as hatred I have for Nathaniel Hackett, he is a good offensive coordinator because of when he's with Aaron Rodgers. If he was the offensive coordinator for any other team, I don't think he would be good. But him and Aaron Rodgers, that's a good duo. So that's why I think they're going to be good. The signing of Dalvin Cook really intrigues me. The reason why I don't like it is because you got Breece Hall, man. I mean, yes, he's coming off a torn ACL, but he's young. He was probably going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year if he stayed healthy because of how good he was playing before he tore his ACL last season. But now, if Breece Hall comes back, he plays week 1, they're going to ease him in because they have Dalvin Cook to man it down now. But if they come together, that is one of, if not the best running back duos, especially if Dalvin Cook can play even close to his Viking self. I predict the breakout season, even more of a breakout season for Garrett Wilson. I really like that kid. I can see him going for up to 1,300 yards this season with Aaron Rodgers. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year and went for 1,000 yards with a mixture of Zach Wilson and Mike White at the helm last season. So I think now with Aaron Rodgers who is not washed and has Nathaniel Hackett, and this is where he wants to play, I don't think he'll have to get familiar. He's been doing that all offseason. You saw him bonding with all his teammates. He has a great bond with everyone. He played in the preseason, got that first drive touchdown. I think they're going to click right away, to be honest. And Garrett Wilson, I have has a really high ceiling. They signed McCole Hardman, who I think is going to be a good red zone target for Aaron Rodgers, and then they have Alan Lazard, who has been playing with Rodgers his whole career. So I like that for them. Those are 3 really good targets that I think Aaron Rodgers can make them into really good receivers in the league, along with their running back duo. And then on the defensive end, they have one of the best cornerback duos in the league in Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, 2 top 10, top 15 cornerbacks, in my opinion. DJ Reed really broke out as an outstanding duo with Sauce Gardner, and Sauce Gardner obviously just amazing how he played in his rookie year, and I think he's going to be good. So I think they definitely win more than 9 games. I find it really disappointing if they win only 9 games. I have them finishing 11-6, and I'm not on the Jets hype train. I don't like the Jets, to be honest, because I think they're having way too much hype. People are talking to them like they're going to win 15 games. And I just don't like all that. They really do feel like the 2022 Broncos. I feel like shit could go wrong really easily, and they could win like 8 games, 7 games. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to click right away, and I think they'll get it going, and I think they're going to win 11 games.
Yeah, and going into my second place team, I got the Dolphins at 12-5. I think that's a good spot for them. Very explosive offense. Defense, even though Jalen Ramsey will be out for, I think, 3 to 4 months, so like you said, 10 weeks, which is very, very unlucky for them. But they still got Xavier Howard, who last year wasn't necessarily his best year, but still can be one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Eli Apple, I mean, I guess he's a decent option for now. I don't care what you say. No, there's no bad players in the league. There's no bad players in the league. I don't care.
You clearly don't watch Canaries Tony on Thursday night if you say that, bro.
And then, I think it really just comes down to Tua's health. Can his O-line, protect him for long enough? Can he protect himself? Because he's a good quarterback. He's shown that with the weapons that he has. They did lose Mike Gesicki, but I think they won't lose a footstep there with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek. So yeah, 12-5. I like them.
I also have the Dolphins at 12-5. Me and David, we got the same predictions right now for AFC East. But they're gonna have a super explosive offense. I do like Mike McDaniel. The defense, like you said, Ramsey's out, but I don't think that's gonna hurt them too bad. And you obviously can't predict an injury, so I'm going into this like Tua doesn't get injured. Yes, 12-5, they're gonna be a good team.
Yeah. Okay. So since I already talked about the Dolphins, I'll just go into all of our first places. I have the Buffalo Bills. I do only have them finishing 1 game ahead of the Jets at 12-5. I think the pressure is probably the highest for Josh Allen than anyone else in the league right now. Maybe Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, the Dak Prescott. I feel like those are like the quarterbacks with the most pressure going into the season. Josh Allen has not proved much to me. He is a really good quarterback. He impresses me so much with his arm, with his rushing talent, with his on-the-run throws during the regular season, and even during the playoffs, but he just can't win. Can we blame it all on Josh Allen, the fact that they can't win the playoffs? No. His defense has let him down a couple times. There's been some injuries there. But Josh Allen, I think he needs to make a Super Bowl in the next couple seasons, or else there will be questions for sure. Because in my opinion, right now, Josh Allen, if we're talking about this era of quarterbacks as if we're talking about like the past era with Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Eli Manning, all of them, I feel like Josh Allen right now is the Phillip Rivers, the guy who's really good and really consistent throughout his career, but never touches that Lombardi trophy. I think that needs to change. Can it change any given year? Yes. The Buffalo Bills have one of the best rosters in the league. Josh Allen has Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, one of the best receivers in the league. They have one of the best QB wide receiver duos in the league. I feel like James Cook is going to have a really good year out of the backfield. I saw some flashes from him last year, not as a rusher, but as a receiving back. I think he'll be good for Josh Allen to get some dump-offs too. Gabe Davis is a really good deep threat, although he didn't really have a good season last year compared to how people were expecting him to play after he had that 4-touchdown game in the crazy divisional game against the Chiefs. He didn't really live up to the expectations. But they have Dawson Knox, and then they drafted Dalton Kincaid in the first round. I really like him. I think he's going to overtake Dawson Knox for that tight end 1 spot, and I think that's another target. He was the best tight end in the draft class, and he was the first one taken off the board for good reason. And then the defense is outstanding as well. They have two of the probably the best safety tandem in the league, and Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. And then they got Tre'Davious White, who definitely has lost a step with all his injury problems last couple years after being one of the best corners in the game. They have Von Miller still. They have Matt Milano. They have Greg Rousseau. They have all these guys who can make plays on the defensive end. I think they have one of the best D lines in the league for sure. And I think the Buffalo Bills pretty easily win the division. I feel like they'll probably drop a game to maybe the Jets, maybe the Dolphins. Probably maybe the Dolphins, if I had to guess one, they'd drop a game too. But otherwise, I think they're going to be kind of dominant in their division, even though the Jets and the Dolphins could be close to the Bills in terms of competing for that first spot. But I think the Bills are good. Come playoff time, how are they going to play? We'll see then. We'll see then when we make our playoff predictions. But the Bills, they're a good regular season team, and I don't think Josh Allen drops off in the regular season. I think he still has an outstanding year, and I have them going 12-5.
Yeah, I have them going 13-4 because this is not a playoff prediction, but the Bills are a regular season team for sure. Josh Allen and that offense is really good. They got a stacked defense, guys that can, even though Von Miller at his old age and coming off a ACL injury, he can still, pressure the quarterback. Maybe not as many sacks as like 4 years ago, but yeah, they have a great safety tandem, and I think that they only lose to the Jets and Miami, so those would be their only divisional losses. And I also have them losing to the Bengals and Philly. So yeah, I think that the Stephon Diggs drama was a little bit over dramatized during the off season. So I think that they'll be right back on the same page, and I don't see them losing a step in terms of the regular season. The postseason, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, my cat's causing issues. That's why I'm going crazy over here. But I also have the Bills. I was 12-5, just like I have the Dolphins. I have them at the same record. They're the same old Bills. Josh Allen is obviously a good quarterback. I think he's the third best quarterback in the league. I don't think they didn't really do too much. They're the same old Bills, but like you said, they need to win in the playoffs. They have to prove that they could win in the playoffs. But yeah, Bills 12.
Yeah. Okay, so that'll do it for the AFC East then. So next division I have is one of the worst in the league. I have the AFC South. So I'll start with my bottom team at the AFC South. I have the Indianapolis Colts going 4-12. As much as I like Anthony Richardson, Anthony Richardson. As much as I like Anthony Richardson, I like him for the future. I don't like him for year one. I don't think he's going to be good. And I made this prediction before Jonathan Taylor went on the PUP list as well, so that just hurts things even more. They don't have their only source of offense. I think Michael Pittman is a bit overrated. He's going to show that with having a quarterback who's not the best, most accurate passer, especially not going to be the most accurate passer in year one. And I want the people to know that, although I think Anthony Richardson is going to be one of the worst QBs in the league this year, I think his long-term outlook is good. I don't really like Anthony Richardson that much this year. No Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman as his number one. And then that defense too, Shaq Leonard, I guess he says he's back to fully healthy, but he's the most injury-prone player in the league. He's going to be hurt by week 4 probably, and he's going to be out again. Their corner play is not good after fucking Isaiah Rodgers got caught gambling, and now he's suspended for a year. And then they have DeForest Buckner on the defensive line, who's the only guy I think can make plays really on that defense. So not a good year for the Colts. I think they'll have another top 5 pick, but then I think it'll help them improve next year, and I don't think they'll finish last in the AFC South next year, but not a good outlook for the Colts, and Anthony Richardson, I don't think he'll have a good year.
Yeah, I agree. I also have them going at 4-12. Anthony Richardson is definitely going to have a lot of moments, a lot of flashes. I think he'll have a game every now and then where it's his best game and he gets a really good win. I think that Jim Irsay in the front office has done him really dirty by not just paying Jonathan Taylor what he deserves and being able to have a running back that your rookie quarterback can just rely on to get some good yardage. Mm-hmm. And his receiving core is all right. I like Michael Pittman. I think that he just hasn't had a consistent quarterback. He had Phillip Rivers for 1 year. He had last year they had Matt Ryan, and now Anthony Richardson. I think that now they'll really be able to form a connection. And yeah, their defense is not the best. DeForest Buckner, their only bright spot. And yeah, 4-12 in last place.
Yeah, I have the Colts at 4-13 in last place. I I agree with Devin on the Anthony Richardson take. I don't think he's going to be good at all this year, but I am high on him, but just not for this season. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor being out is going to hurt them because Jim Irsay won't just pay the man. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about the Colts, but 4-13, I think it's going to be a rough year for them.
Yeah, speaking of the Colts, they also hired Shane Steichen, former Eagles offensive coordinator, as their new head coach. I feel like he would be a good coach with a different quarterback, but I don't really think he'll be that good of a coach. I think him and Jonathan Gannon are kind of similar. I feel like a bunch of teams kind of just jumped the gun on both of the Eagles offense and defense coordinators just because they had such a improvement from last season and such a good season and then they had that good Super Bowl performance. So I think teams kind of jumped the gun there, but I don't think Shane Steichen is their long-term answer at head coach for sure. So if you guys got nothing else to say for the Colts, I'll move on to the next team I have in third place, which is the Houston Texans. Not much higher ahead. I have them at 5-11. CJ Stroud is definitely going to have some growing pains. I feel like he's one of the, aside from Anthony Richardson, I feel like he's the most raw quarterback in this draft class. I also wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't have a good first year at all, although I do have high hopes for him long term. Maybe not to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league at one point in his career. I could be wrong. Don't quote me, but this year specifically, I don't think he'll have the greatest year, partially because he has no weapons. His wide receiver one is Nico Collins. They have Tank Dell, but he's not even like up there. They signed Dalton Schultz from Dallas. I guess he could possibly be his number one target, and then they have one other wide receiver I'm missing. I'm not quite exactly sure, but all their wide receivers are super mediocre. They have Damian Pierce in the backfield, but that doesn't help CJ Stroud elevate. And then aside from Laramie Tunsil, that offensive line is hot ass. CJ Stroud is going to be sacked so much this season. It's unbelievable. So, and then the defense, not very good. They do have some bright spots in Derek Stingley. They got Will Anderson, who in my opinion is the best player in this draft class in terms of overall talent. And I think he is, aside from Christian Gonzalez, my defensive rookie of the year candidate and possibly even my pick. So I think he has a good season. They have a bunch of young guys on that defense. So there's high expectations for the next couple seasons for them. But this season, I have no hopes for the Texans. I have them winning 5 games solely because CJ Stroud's going to show flashes, and their defense is going to show flashes, and they're going to beat some bad teams. And I feel like they can come out on top in a bunch of close games, possibly even against the higher team, a team way better than them. So, yeah, 5-11 is my take for the Texans.
Yeah, I got the Texans at 5-12. I think that CJ Stroud will be like better than Anthony Richardson, even though, yes, he has a bad O-line. He at least has a good running back to fall back on, and the offensive coordinator can fall back on. I think that Tank Dell is going to be really good in his first season. At first, I thought maybe because of his size and, maybe he wouldn't be the same level as he was in college, but I think that he's going to rely on Tank Dell a lot. I like him a lot. And their defense, not the best. They do have Will Anderson, who, coming from Alabama, I think he can just immediately make a great impact on their D-line.
I have the Texans at 4-13, same as the Colts. It's going to be a really rough year for them. I think CJ Stroud could be decent, but his O-line, he might not even make it this season with that O-line. They're atrocious. The defense, like you guys said, Will Anderson, he'll probably be good, but there's really nothing else in that defense that I like. Yeah, that's my Texans. Don't got a lot to say.
Yeah, and then I was missing the wide receivers, but I just found out they signed Robert Woods. So I guess that was their big splash of the offseason, signing 76-year-old Robert Woods. And although I do agree, Tank Dell, David, I think he has high expectations. I'm pretty sure I heard a report that he's like wide receiver 4 as of right now. And like they signed Noah Brown from Dallas. I feel like he's ahead of him. And they have John Mechie after missing whole last year with cancer? I don't even know. Cancer. And then so he's back now. And then also another one I'm missing on the defense end is Jimmy Ward, who they unfortunately took from my 49ers, but he went with DeMeco Ryans. I think he's going to be probably the best player on that defense. Jimmy Ward is a really good safety, one of the best in the league. And then DeMeco Ryans, I think he also will have a huge part in the defense. And that's mostly why I have them winning 5 games. DeMeco Ryans, probably the best defensive-minded coach in the league. Will Anderson, I feel like he can already elevate that defense in year 1. Derek Stingley makes a year 2 jump. Jalen Petrie as well, another good safety. And then Jimmy Ward, I feel like is going to be the anchor of that defense. He's going to be the leader of everyone there. So, yeah, so the Texans, not high hope for them because their offense is pretty ass, but I have them winning 5 games. So next team on my list is the Tennessee Titans, who I have them at 9-8. However, I feel like a bunch of people are underrating the Titans. They're one of my other sleeper teams in the AFC. I feel like they can win up to 11 games if everything clicks for them. Ryan Tannehill obviously has had regression from when they made it to the AFC Championship a couple years ago, but I don't think Ryan Tannehill is a top 25 is a bottom 25 quarterback, like a bottom 5 quarterback, like a bunch of people set him out to be. I really think if Tannehill plays to his best, he can establish himself as a top 15 quarterback in the league if he plays really good this season. Ryan Tannehill is not bad. He's a floor guy, kind of similar to like Mac Jones, I would say, who can get the job done for a team. And then obviously a huge signing of DeAndre Hopkins. Although I don't think for D-Hop himself that was the best destination for him to go to, I feel like that really excels the Titans passing game. Traylon Burks, I feel like has a year 2 jump. And then obviously they got King Henry in the backfield. It is getting a little concerning because Derrick Henry is getting up there in age. He's in his 30s, and who knows how much longer the Titans will keep him around. But I can never count out my guy Derrick Henry to lead the league in rushing, to go off for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns on the Jaguars or the Colts like he does every single year. And I think Derrick Henry will win them some games. And I think D-Hop goes for 1,000 yards with Ryan Tannehill at the helm. They still have Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Byard on the defensive end. They signed Azeez Al-Shaair from the 49ers, who can also be the anchor for their defense at linebacker. Really good guy there. So the Titans, definitely, I definitely see a pathway where they win the AFC South, I'm not going to lie, although I don't think it's likely and I didn't predict it. But the Titans are my sleeper team to look out for, winning up to 11 games with DeAndre Hopkins now in that offense. I think Ryan Tannehill can have a really good bounce back year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree. I have them in second place, but at 7-10. I just don't think Ryan Tannehill. I think he's gonna regress more. I don't know if he can really get better. I do think that the D-Hop signing helps him a lot, but King Henry is getting up there in age. He's had a couple of injuries these past couple of years, and they've it kind of seems like the Titans have kind of been wanting to work in Will Levis. Like they kind of want to see what they have in him. It just looks like they're looking more towards the future. I don't really believe too much in Ryan Tannehill. Their defense is not the worst. I do like Jeffrey Simmons a lot. They signed him a new contract extension, and Kevin Byard. But I think that the Jaguars are just so much better than them, in my opinion.
I think you're one of those guys that are understanding the Titans. I think you forget that Mike Vrabel is one of the, if not the best head coaches in the NFL. Mike Vrabel is a mastermind. He is literally a mastermind. He can do anything with that offense, in my opinion. And then the Titans always, kind of like the Saints, in my opinion, they always find a way to have a really good defense. And Ryan Tannehill, like I said, I think he's that floor quarterback. I don't see a way where Ryan Tannehill could be really bad to the point where he gets benched for Will Levis. Will Levis, obviously Ryan Tannehill isn't going to be on this team 2 to 3 years from now. There's no way, right? But that doesn't mean they have to go full tank mode and win 5 games and then bench Ryan Tannehill midway through the year. I feel like Ryan Tannehill can still be good. So I have high hope for the Titans, unlike you.
I have the Titans at 9-8. They're a sleeper team for me as well. Obviously, Mike Vrabel, he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. I don't think Ryan Tannehill's going to regress that much from last year. He'll obviously have a little regression, but it won't be that much. I don't think Will Levis is going to see the field at all this season unless there's an injury or something.
Yeah.
Of course, Derrick Henry, I think he's going to have another great season. I mean, it's Derrick Henry. They made some additions to their defense, and I think they're going to be a good team. I have them at 9-8.
Who do you guys think is going to be QB2, Malik Willis or Will Levis? Because Malik Willis started a good amount of games last year, but he did not play good at all in any of those games. Obviously, like that. Do you guys remember that Sunday night football game against the Chiefs where he was running for his life the whole time?
Yeah, he didn't have the O-line and receivers.
Yeah, there was that game. Yeah, Malik Willis, he did not play good at all, in any of his games. But Will Levis, I've heard a bunch of rumors out of training camp that he's not good. So if Ryan Tannehill were to be horrible and get benched for a young quarterback, or he were to get injured, who do you guys think comes in first?
I could see Malik going in because he's just been there longer and he's actually played. Well, yes, 1 year. It doesn't matter. It's 1 year. He's been there longer. But I could definitely see Will Levis going in just because even though he's not had the best offseason, there were some reports like after the draft that they like could potentially be out on the league already. But
I think they test out Will Levis just to see what he has.
Mm-hmm. I haven't heard anything from Will Levis since the draft, other than like his lifetime mayonnaise contract. Like I have not heard a peep from of any news of Will Levis. Like I don't know if he's cut. I don't know if he's QB3, QB2. I don't know anything. I haven't heard anything from Will Levis. So, I guess that leads us to our unanimous number 1, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I feel like we're gonna have some different record predictions. I have them at 11-6. 1 or 2 games higher than last season just because they're just going to continue to get better. Trevor Lawrence is a guy who can definitely take his team to the Super Bowl, maybe not this year, but in the next couple of years. Obviously, they made it to the divisional round after they came back like down 28 or something at halftime against the Chargers, one of the worst playoff chokes in NFL history. And then they competed with the Chiefs, but weren't able to get it done. I really like Trevor Lawrence. I feel like his peak right now at the end of the season, I feel like he can definitely be a top 5 quarterback. I feel like right now he's top 8, top 7 in my eyes, but I think he can definitely jump into that top 5 conversation later in the year. I feel like a bunch of people are underrating the addition of Calvin Ridley. I don't think people like know how good Calvin Ridley is. Calvin Ridley is the only reason like the Falcons stayed like kind of on their feet ever since Julio became washed and left. Like Calvin Ridley, like is really a good route runner. Like, and he can get open so good. He's fast. He's a physical guy. And they got him for dirt cheap because he was suspended all last season. They got him at the deadline for dirt cheap. So I think that's an underrated guy for them. And then even if there is some growing pains the first couple of weeks between Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley. I think Christian Kirk, obviously, he built that chemistry with Trevor Lawrence last year. A bunch of people were clowning the Jaguars for giving him that at the time what seemed like a huge overpay of a contract, but it seemed to pay off because Christian Kirk was a big reason why the Jaguars were able to go as far as they did because he was Trevor Lawrence's number 1. Evan Ingram also kind of revived his career after starting really bad in his during his rookie contract in New York. He signed with the Jaguars and he played really good in a 1-year make or break deal, and then he got a franchise tag, so now he's here for another year. I just really like the Jaguars. They also have Zay Jones, who all had some really good games last season. That offense is really good. I compare them to the Dolphins. I feel like they're going to have similar seasons. They're going to be one of those high-scoring teams. And T-Law, I'm actually going to predict that he does enter top 5 QB conversations, and I think that he is going to be one of the best quarterbacks this season. And then on the defensive end, they have Travon Walker, who like is the most like irrelevant number 1 overall pick ever. Like he got drafted number 1 last year, and I haven't heard a peep from him since. He made some good plays, but the defense isn't the most outstanding, but they got some pieces there. So and then I like Doug Peterson. Obviously, I liked his comeback last season. I thought he never should have came out of the league. I don't know how a Super Bowl winning coach could get could stay out of the league for as long as he did. So I'm glad that he got another chance, and he definitely made it the best with the Jaguars last year. And I think the Jaguars continue to improve, and I think they're going to be either the 3 or 4 seed in the AFC at 11-6.
Yeah, I have them going 10-7, which is only 1 win better than last year, but that's not discrediting them at all. I think they're going to be, in terms of they'll be a lot better as a team, even though it is 1 more win. I think that just like their offense is going to be better, like you said, with Calvin Ridley at first. When they like first traded for him and then they suspended him for a season, I thought it would just be like a minor like addition. But for now, it's really showing that he's been explosive. He hasn't really lost a step in terms of his athleticism and his speed. So, and I really like Travis Etienne. I love him a lot. I think he's going to be top 10 running back this season if he can stay healthy, because he did miss his rookie season. But, he has that connection with Trevor Lawrence from Clemson. And, yeah, I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to take another leap. And their defense is not the best. So I think it's going to be their offense that really carries them to some wins.
I have the Jaguars at 11-6. I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the AFC, but the AFC has so many good teams, it's hard to predict them all super high. Trevor Lawrence obviously is a good quarterback. He's going to be top 5. I agree with Devin there. They got Calvin Ridley. They could keep the gambling apps off his phone. He's going to be a great wide receiver 1. Christian Kirk at wide receiver 2. It's looking like a great receiving core. their defense, they have like a pretty mid defense. It's not the best, but it's not the worst either. Yeah, I got them at 11-6. They're going to be one of the top teams in the AFC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like just like last season, their only competition for the division could be the Titans. I mean, it came down to that one game last year, but the Titans had freaking Josh Dobbs at the helm for that game. Speaking of Calvin Ridley, I like what you brought up, David, about like he had the whole season. I feel like, honestly, he could be better than he was in Atlanta. He wasn't hurt or anything. He was literally just addicted to gambling, so that's why he was gone for a year. I feel like he's improved. He literally, I've seen reports, he's been training like nonstop ever since that he got that suspension, and then he got traded while he was suspended at the deadline from the Falcons. I think he could be better. I've seen some great clips during training camp. While I do believe there will be some growing pains, and I feel like the beginning of the year early on, I feel like Christian Kirk will still be that wide receiver one. I think Calvin Ridley can emerge as a for sure 1,000-yard receiver with a really good quarterback like Trevor Lawrence at the helm. So, do you guys got anything else for the AFC South, little comments or anything? We're all good.
No.
All right. Last division for our predictions is the AFC West. What was expected to be one of the best divisions, if not by far the best last year, definitely turned out to not be the best. But again, this division is pretty stacked if all teams can come together. So I want to hear one of your guys' thoughts on last place first before I go ahead.
Yeah, and I just actually want to start with this real quick. I think that the West is just right behind the East in terms of like how good they are, because I think that because every division is always going to have at least one really bad team. Maybe not really bad, but it's not the same level as the others. But I have the Raiders going 4-13. This might be a tad bit biased, but I think they'll win against the Packers, the Patriots, and the Vikings, and the Colts. I think every now and then they're going to have like one of those wins where they kind of maybe not get lucky, but for example, like they'll win against Indianapolis. Like that's going to be probably one of the worst games of the season, just the battle of mid. The Vikings, everybody knows that they're not the most trustworthy team. Like last year, I'm pretty sure they lost against, was it the Cowboys, where they got blown out?
Yeah, they lost by like 40.
Even though they were like doing really well. So the Vikings will always give up like a game to a really bad team. And yeah, like the Patriots are going to be the worst in their division, and the Packers, we're not 100% sure how they could play this year. So yeah, I got them at 4-13.
Mm-hmm.
I got the Raiders at 5-12. I think adding Jimmy Garoppolo is probably one of the worst decisions that team could have made. I honestly have no idea why they did that. Yes, it's going to go very well for them. I got them at 5-12. Yeah. I do think Josh Jacobs is one of the best running backs in the league, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also have the Raiders at 5-12. My hot take for this season is that Devontae Adams will be on a different team at the trade deadline. I feel like he regrets that contract he signed. He literally signed with the Raiders for Derek Carr. Literally. That is the reason he requested to trade the Raiders. And he's gone. He does not want to play with Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, I have hatred for Jimmy Garoppolo, but I will admit he's a guy who can hold it down, although he's not a guy who can lead a team to the playoffs, especially a team that's not even half as good as the 49ers, as the team he was with the past couple seasons, or since like 2017. So Devontae Adams, I feel like he's a big reason why they'll win games. I feel like Devontae Adams is becoming a little underrated. He was like the undisputed number one receiver in the league, like from like 2019 to like 2020, 2021. And then but then these other guys came out. But then since like Justin Jefferson overtook him, maybe like Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, like all these guys like kind of broke out on the scene. I feel like people don't talk about Devontae Adams anymore. If those guys weren't there, he would definitely be the best receiver in the league. I feel like Jimmy Garoppolo can do enough to put the ball in his hands. And then obviously it's good for them that they got their dispute with Josh Jacobs settled. They gave him a 1-year deal aside from the franchise tag. So they have him back. He seems like he's ready to go. And then one other prediction I have, my sleeper defensive player of the year candidate is Max Crosby. Max Crosby is super underrated. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league, in my opinion. He is up there with the Nick Bosas, the Myles Garretts, the Brian Burnses. I think he's up there with all those guys. I think he's probably the second best edge rusher in the league behind Nick Bosa. He is really dominant, and I feel like he could win a game by himself. I feel like he could have a 2-sack game, be pressuring the quarterback all game long, especially if they go against a team with a really bad right tackle. So I feel like he can do some really good things there. But aside from that, their defense is ass. Like, they have nobody else on the defense. Their secondary is terrible, bro. Like, their number one corner is like Rock Yassin. Like, it's really bad for them out there. So I don't think this team's going to be good as all. And I agree with Owen. I literally could not tell you why they signed Jimmy Garoppolo to that huge extension. I honestly would have rather liked them drafting Will Levis at 7 than signing Garoppolo to their huge deal. Because now they drafted Tyree Wilson with that 7th overall, who I think will be good opposite of Max Crosby, but I mean, he won't be as much of a difference maker as like a decent quarterback. So I really hated that Jimmy Garoppolo signing. And as good as Devontae Adams is, I don't think he'll be on the team past the trade deadline. And because of that, I have them going 5-12.
Yeah, I don't think this is much of a hot take, but I think Devontae stays past the deadline, but I think that for sure what's his name? Josh McDaniels is not gonna end the season as their coach. He's definitely gonna be fired.
Josh McDaniels, bro.
He's not gonna finish the season with them. But I'll head into my third place, which I got okay. So as a Broncos fan, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm not gonna go crazy. I have them at 12-5. 12-5.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty optimistic, man.
It is. No.
We lost Devin.
Yeah, we lost them. But I don't know. He's not a believer, and that's fine. No, I don't need him to be. I guess I'll talk about it since he's not here. I think that they'll definitely drop a couple of games that they probably should have won. They have their losses at Kansas City, at Detroit, at Buffalo, at Miami, and one against the Chargers in LA. I think that the Broncos, it's mainly Sean Payton for me. Russell Wilson is going to play better. He can't play any worse than he did last year. Their defense has always been great, always been a top 5 defense. Patrick Surtain is the best cornerback in the league. If their linebackers can stay healthy, like Randy Gregory, the first 4 weeks was one of the best defensive players for the Broncos. Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton are great, one of the best linebacker duos. In our offense, man, our receivers are cursed. Jerry Jeudy pulled his hamstring late in training camp. KJ Hamler is gone. Tim Patrick is out with an Achilles injury, and even though he was coming back from an ACL. I do like our running backs. Javonte's coming back from an ACL, which was a miracle because it's been 8 months since then. And they got Samaje Perine, who's a very reliable backer. So Devin, you can go off on me. You can call me whatever you want because I know that's what you like to do. So I don't care what you say.
I'm not too far behind of the Broncos at 10-7. I think the addition of Sean Payton will obviously be great. Nathaniel Hackett is one of the worst head coaches I've ever seen. Russell Wilson, he'll have a bounce back year. It's not going to be great, but it'll be obviously better than last season. I'm high on Javonte Williams. If their receivers can stay healthy, they'll be a 10-7 team, and of course they have a solid defense.
I have the Broncos in third place at 7-10. I think Sean Payton really improves the team in that certain category, but I don't think Sean Payton himself can make a team up to 12 wins. Because this team, if you really look at it, they're not that much better than they were last season, in terms of their roster construction. I really don't have that high hopes for Javonte Williams. As much as I loved him pre-injury, and Javonte, I thought he was one of the most underrated RBs in the league pre-injury. I just don't see how a guy can come back 8 months after that injury and be even nearly as good as he was. I feel like he's going to be kind of similar to J.K. Dobbins, where his whole burst of speed is gone and everything. I do like Samaje Perine, but I don't think he'll have that much of an impact. He could definitely come down with 3 to 4 receptions a game, possibly even some touchdowns out of the backfield. Could be a red zone threat for Russell Wilson. Jerry Jeudy did get hurt, but I think there's a chance he plays week 1. I'm kind of out on Courtland Sutton. I really liked Courtland Sutton, but I'm honestly out on him. He's really been so unreliable the past couple of seasons. I feel like this is his last year in Denver. They gave him too big of a contract for him to stay around. Hopefully, Jerry Jeudy can stay healthy this season because I have high hopes for Jerry Jeudy. It's just his career has kind of been riddled by injuries. I feel like if he's fully healthy and if he plays a really good season and if Russell Wilson plays really good, he could be a top 10 receiver, top 15, top 10 receiver. But injuries have riddled his career and everything. And then Obviously, they lost out on Tim Patrick, which was huge for them, and I feel so bad for the guy because, you know, like 2 straight years with season-ending injuries, I feel like he won't be seen in a Broncos uniform, maybe even an NFL uniform ever again, which is really sad for sure. And then Greg Dulcich, I mean, I saw some flashes from me last year. I feel like a lot of people are predicting to have a breakout year. I don't really see the vision on that, to be honest. I like him for sure as a option for Russell Wilson. I feel like he'll definitely be his second or third target, but I don't really see Cortland Sutton staying healthy the whole year. As much as I say I want Jerry Jeudy to, I don't see them. As you said, the Broncos wide receivers are cursed. And then the O-line, they gave all their money to Mike McGlinchey, so Russell Wilson will be dead by week 6. And then they did sign Ben Powers, I believe, is it? Yeah, they signed Ben Powers to that huge deal. I think he's definitely going to improve their O-line. Definitely their focus was to improve the O-line. They definitely did it because, like, I don't know how you could get much worse than last season. That was literally horrid. And then moving on to the defense, again, kind of injury-prone defense, but Patrick Surtain, one of the, if not the best corners in the game. I really love him. I think he's so underrated. Like, the dude, I think by the end of the year, he'll be CB1 in the league. But aside from that, I don't like any of their other corners. Who else? Who they have as their corner 2?
Damari Mathis, I think, can play. He had a pretty good rookie season. He did have that Chargers game, but that was his first game starting where he had like 3 PIs. But I like him though. I don't think he'll be like crazy
Damari
good.
Mathis, but he's not a good cornerback 2 for a team that like needs to stop the pass. And then Justin Simmons, obviously still good, but as we saw last season, Justin Simmons cannot carry a team to a bunch of wins as good as he is, and I think he is one of the most underrated safeties in the league. And then Randy Gregory, I don't know. He's also injury prone. This whole team is injury prone, man. I don't know. In my complete honest opinion, the reason why I have them 7-10 and not 12-5, their roster is not better than last season. If so, it is barely better. As much as I want to see them do good, they're not going to make the playoffs. They're not. They're not going to make the playoffs. Sean Payton is a good coach. Sean Payton will change some things, but I don't expect like a huge like Deion Sanders turnaround at CU. I think Sean Payton will definitely improve Russ, but in all honesty, man, I don't have high hopes for Russell Wilson. I think he's in the back end of his career. I think he was much better in Seattle, and I think last year was the start of it all. As much as I would like to see him, I feel like this is going to go down as one of the worst trades in Broncos, probably the worst trade in Broncos history, one of the worst trades in the league history, because I think Geno Smith is going to be really good, and he was supposed to be benched for Drew Lock last season. So that's my take on the Broncos. I just want to see them do good. 12-5 is ridiculous. I literally don't see a fucking world where they could win 12 games. I don't know if you're like living on Mars or what, because like I don't see a world. Like, I don't see anything that could possibly happen. Russell Wilson could be an MVP candidate. Freaking Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton could stay healthy the whole year. Freaking Greg Dulcich could be the top 5 tight end in the league. Freaking Randy Gregory could be the best edge rusher. PS2 could have the best corner season since Darrell Reed. All of that aside, I don't see how they can win 12 games.
If all those things were to happen, they would be 12-5. If everything that you said, they would be 12-5.
I feel like they'll definitely win. I feel like they might drop a game to the Raiders just because they always do. But if they're gonna go 2-0 against any team, I think it's the Raiders. The Chargers. Hopefully they can take a game from them. I don't think so. And then I think the Patrick Mahomes curse continues. As much as I want them, I don't see them taking a game from the Chiefs.
We'll definitely beat the Chargers at home because we always beat them at home. Maybe not in LA.
They beat them. What was that? That was it was last week of the season. They beat them.
The last.
But I don't have high hopes for the Broncos, man. 7-10. I feel like their peak is 9 games in my opinion, and I feel like their floor is 4 games, and they completely blow it up and they go into a rebuild. Although I don't think that's going to happen, that's their floor. And although I love the Sean Payton thing, I think it is so worth it to trade a late first-round pick for Sean Payton, because I don't think a guy they would have drafted in the late first round could have helped as much as Sean Payton is going to help them this year, and as much of an improvement as he is from that bum, Nathaniel Hackett. They signed Vance Joseph back as a defense coordinator, which is kind of strange for me after he was the head coach a couple of years ago and was really bad there. Although he's a better defense coordinator than he is head coach. I don't have that high of a ceiling for this team, so I have the Broncos at 7-10.
Yeah, and one last thing I'll say about this is that if the defense is the same as last year was one of the best defenses. If the offense can just do because last year it was like some stat, if like they just scored 16 points, they would have had like 8 wins and 2 losses, something like that. But if the offense can just somewhat hold their own, they'll be a lot better. Maybe not 12-5, but they'll be a lot better. But yeah, I believe a lot in the defense. I'll let Owen
Well,
go.
you do believe they'll go 12-5 because that's what you said. So stay on that. Hold that.
I'll hold it then.
All right, bet. All right. So.
And I'll hold you to
wait,
saying that the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl. I'll hold you to that too.
When did I say that?
You said that literally the other day.
When?
Except for the podcast.
I said they're a Super Bowl
somebody
contender.
asked you.
I said they're a Super Bowl contender, and they are a Super Bowl contender every single year. If you deny that, that's clear bias. They can make the Super Bowl any single year they have all those guys on the team. I never said they're gonna win the Super Bowl, like you are saying the Broncos will go 12-5. So wait, so where did you have them finishing? Second?
No, I had them third.
Third at 12-5? Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, Owen, did you say your Broncos prediction yet? Do you say where they're gonna finish? Where do you have them third or second?
Third.
Third. Okay. Okay, so we all have them third, but some different record predictions. In second place, I have the LA Chargers. I have them going 10-7. Kind of similar because I think they stuck around with Vic Lombardi and oh man, my bad. And Brandon Staley, who I think is a really bad coach. I don't like Brandon Staley at all. I think they should have fired him after that collapse. I don't know how it's not talked about enough that they blew a 30-point lead at halftime to a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in ever. Like, I don't think it's talked about enough. Seriously, it is one of the worst collapses of all time. They didn't get like a first down the whole second half, and they let up a touchdown every 2 minutes to the Jaguars. That was ridiculous. I think that needs to be talked about enough. I don't know if that like hurts their esteem coming into this season or what, and I don't know how they get over that, but that was horrible. I really like Justin Herbert. I really do. I think he could be a top 5 quarterback as well. I have them close to there right now in my rankings, but Keenan Allen, as good as he is, if he can stay healthy, I feel like maybe the Chargers could win a game or two more, maybe 11 or 12 wins, probably 11. But Keenan Allen can just not stay healthy the past couple of years of his career. I mean, as good as he is, he's really on the back end of his career. I do like Mike Williams, however. I always thought he's been an underrated receiver. Like, the catches he makes sometimes, just using his 6'5" frame to just moss people left and right, I feel like that's really an advantage that Justin Herbert has, and it's really something that Justin Herbert needs. He needs a guy that he can just throw the ball to who can come down with it. And then they drafted Quentin Johnston in the third round, to be their wide receiver 3 in the first round. Although I think they could have gone maybe a different guy because I don't know if they need another physical receiver as their wide receiver 3. I feel like they should have gone after more of a speed demon, like maybe McCole Hardman, or like either in free agency or in the draft. Because Quentin Johnston, he had some issues during like the combine process and like the scouting process and everything like that. Although I do think he can be an additional weapon to Justin Herbert. I don't see how he plays necessarily bad, but I don't know if he has that much of an impact. And then the defense, I don't know. The defense is just mediocre. I mean, they have Joey Bosa on the edge. I mean, who are their corners? I forget who are their corners. Don't they have Asante Samuel Jr.
and J.C. Jackson
and J.C. Jackson from the Patriots. Yep. And then so yeah, they have that. I don't think their defense is going to be that good. I definitely see them taking a game probably from each of their division rivals. I have them making the playoffs. I don't know if they'll make it out the first round. I just feel bad for Justin Herbert, man. I think they need a trade for like. Do you know who they should trade for? They should trade for Mike Evans. They should trade Keenan Allen or for Mike Evans or something like that. Mike Evans is going to be traded at the deadline or at the end of the season, but I believe it's going to be the deadline because him and the Buccaneers, they didn't reach an extension by like the deadline they had of like yesterday, I think it was. So Mike Evans will probably not finish the season on Tampa Bay. I want to see him in LA, and I want to see if that can boost the Chargers as much because Justin Herbert has never had that good of a chance, man. Like he doesn't have a good offensive coordinator. He doesn't have a good head coach. He's had an injury-prone Keenan Allen his whole career, and then Mike Williams just isn't a wide receiver one that can lead you to like a Super Bowl title contending team. So I have the Chargers at 10-7, and I think their peak is around that 10-11 games. And I feel like if shit goes wrong, they could maybe drop out of the playoff race.
Yeah, I think this might surprise you, but I don't know. I definitely don't like Staley as their head coach, but I think Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator is a lot more of an upgrade than over Vic Lombardi. So I have them 13-4 in second place. I think that Justin Herbert with his new contract, I think that he's just gonna every year he gets better, and he has pretty good weapons around him. Their defense is still pretty good, not the best in the league, but I think that their defense can definitely hold their own. And I'm just really high on the AFC West in general.
So because you think their defense is pretty good but not the best, and because you think he has weapons, you think they're going to be one of the best teams in the league, if not the best, at 13 wins. That's your reasoning?
Right behind the Chiefs.
That's your reasoning?
In the AFC, yeah.
Nah, I need some more on that. I need some more on why the Chargers are going to win 13 games.
It's mainly Justin Herbert. He's one of the best quarterbacks. Yes, he choked.
So you think he's going to be like a top 3 quarterback this season?
Yeah, he could. He can be. And also like they still have Joey Bosa, who didn't play great in the playoff game. It was mainly the defensive fault for giving up the comeback win against the Jaguars in that playoff game. But I don't know. I just think that the Chargers, like, they at some point they have to get over the hump, and maybe they don't. But I think that this year could be one of those years.
I have the Chargers at 10-7, same as Devin. Justin Herbert, I have him as a top 5 quarterback in the league. So he'll lead the offense to get some wins. Their defense is mid. J.C. Jackson, he's a perfect example of the Belichick effect. I don't think he's going to be good at all for the Chargers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 10-7. Don't have too much to say about them.
Yeah, I have them as a bit of a tag team. I don't know. 13 wins is really crazy to me. I'm not going to lie. That is insane. But moving on then to all of our number 1. I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, this prediction is a little different because they just lost their first game of the season, but I had them going 14-3, although I might change that to 13-4 now because I didn't expect them to lose to the Lions week 1 as much as I wanted the Lions to win. I didn't expect the Lions to win, but this team, they're not going to have a single drop-off unless this Kelsey injury lingers. Could it linger? Yes. Do I think it will? No. I think he'll be back by next week, and I think this offense will be perfectly fine. So I have them going 14-3. Obviously, they need to sign Chris Jones to a contract. I mean, it was kind of like weird that their defense was playing pretty good, especially their defensive line. They were getting some good pressure, like George Karlaftis and Nick Bolton. They were getting a good pressure on Jared Goff. But I think they need to sign Chris Jones. And am I the only one that found it so weird that he was sitting in a suite watching the game, like? Although not like
on the
team. That's
he just said that
weird.
He wanted to be there for the banner.
Well, then
like he was a part of it.
Then sign a contract and get in a uniform. I feel like that's so weird. Like I don't know. Like he's literally there as a fan. He's there as if he's like a celebrity, like watching his own team he plays for. Yeah. So yeah, I have them going 14-3, and I think they'll be the best team in the AFC, and they'll earn that 1 seed in the bye again because they have Patrick Mahomes. Period. So yeah.
Yeah, I also have them at 14-3. One of the best offenses in the league. The Travis Kelce injury definitely could hurt them if that lingers for any longer. Their defense still looked pretty good without him. And their receivers, man, like they need to step up if they want to keep up their, how good their offense is, because like Guy Moore barely got any looks. Kadarius Toney, we already talked about this at the beginning, but Kadarius Toney didn't have any catches. He's like someone that the Chiefs were very high on, and that's why they didn't really go out for like a high end like receiver in free agency. Like they didn't go after a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. And yeah, they still have Isaiah Pacheco, who was drafted in the 7th round. I really like him a lot, and it looks like Edwards-Helaire has found a role again in that offense, surprisingly. But I think it was because Pacheco also had an injury during training camp.
I have the Chiefs at 13-4. They're the Chiefs. They're going to be a great team. Mahomes, obviously, best quarterback in the league. After watching the Week 1 game, obviously the receivers didn't look great, but they'll get it together for the Chiefs. They'll be all right. I think Kadarius Toney's not going to look like that all season. I don't think he's going to be as good as they thought, but he'll be better. He's not going to be terrible. Yeah. Defense obviously looks. Yeah. The Kelsey injury, like you guys said, if it doesn't linger. And I have him as my 2nd seed in the AFC.
Yeah, and the Titans didn't play that bad, but they're also not Travis Kelce.
Oh, yeah. No,
you can't replace that.
Yeah, you can't replace that at all, for sure. But, I mean, yeah, Kadarius Toney, like, I feel like people forget that he's, like, if they didn't have him in the Super Bowl, they might have not won. He had literally like the game-winning 50-yard punt return that set them up for the Harrison Butker game-winning field goal. And he played good during that game. And so they were high on him, and that's why they didn't go get DeAndre Hopkins. Although I do think they should have, because I think I would like right now make my prediction that they're going to win the Super Bowl again and repeat if they sign DeAndre Hopkins. But they didn't. And I agree with Owen. I don't think Kadarius Toney is going to be like that all season. Although I do think if it kind of like keeps up, I think his role will definitely diminish. It was really concerning to me how little Sky Moore was involved. He played so many, like he played like 70% of the snaps, but he had like 1-2 targets the whole game. So that was kind of strange. I feel like this whole offense is going to change when Kelsey comes back. He passed the ball to like 10 different receivers all game. Rashee Rice came in and he had some good moments. He caught that touchdown. He looked to be a good target. And then Marquez Valdes-Scantling, obviously back from last season, he also had some good catches in that one. If I had to predict, I feel like number 2 behind Travis Kelce, if the offense is completely normal, I would have to say Kadarius Toney. I mean, I feel like there's a reason they didn't go inside any other receiver. They didn't bring back McCole Hardman. But that I don't think I feel like if you're a Chiefs fan, you should just ignore this past game. And just hope that Travis Kelce can be back to normal, because the offense is going to be so different. Rashee Rice, as good as he was, I don't think if Travis Kelce's back, I don't think he'll have a role this season. Same thing with like Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Same thing with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like I just think that their game plan was so much different for this game now that Travis Kelce was out, and so I feel like it won't look the same. I feel like it'll be like Kelce, Sky Moore, and Kadarius Toney, and maybe Justin Watson, like catching passes for them when everything's good. So I feel like that wasn't a game to really determine how the Chiefs are going to look this season. And if you do, I feel like you're wrong.
Yeah, the only concern I would have if I was a Chiefs fan is that apparently in the commentators were saying that like before the game they were trying to see like how much power Kelsey had in his knee in like a swimming pool or something, and he had like zero power apparently. So that is pretty concerning, because that doesn't just like fix itself in 1 week. That definitely is going to take at least like 3 to 4, I would have to say.
So you think he's going to miss the next 3 to 4 weeks?
I think so. If he has zero power in his knee,
I don't think they said he has
because
zero
he hyperextended it. I would say, I'm pretty sure they said that, but I would say 3.
I've heard all these reports saying he should be good to go, and if anything, he'll miss 1 more week. If anything,
I would put my money on 3 weeks.
Wow, there goes your money. Okay, well, if you guys got anything else to say for any teams, the AFC West, anything, let me know.
The last thing I got to say about the Chiefs is that nobody should overreact to this, because when the Patriots were at their best, they lost week 1 so many times. But great teams, they get it together. So the Chiefs will be all right.
Yeah, for sure. And then they have number 15 at the helm. He's the best quarterback. He could be the GOAT, bro. I can't bet against him. He's the best quarterback in the league, no doubt about it. And we saw it in the first half, except his receiver sold him in the second half. The Chiefs would have won if Kadarius Toney could catch the ball. So, yeah, I guess that'll do it for us. So, that'll do it. AFC predictions down. Our full NFL predictions are now out with our NFC predictions video about a week ago, and now our AFC predictions now. Let us know your thoughts on some of our takes in the comments and all that. So, Owen, thank you for doing this with us. Got another opinion here. So, yep, no problem. So, that'll do it for us. If you guys got anything to say, let me know real quick. Nothing?
No.
All right. We appreciate you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode after week 1.